Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you have any family members that are MAGA?
No.
You'll get the biggest kick out of this, Monet, and I don't think Pumps knows this. So during this most recent election, my husband, I live in I would say a 99.9% white neighborhood. Okay. So my husband comes home from work and he goes, well, the weirdest thing just happened. The house 2 blocks south of us just put up 2 MAGA signs in their front yard and they're black.
No.
Peace and blessings, beautiful souls, magnificent beings. Allow us to break down this intellectual insult that these 2 women are bringing forth right in front of one of their obviously black liberal friends. What I've come to understand is this, that many white liberals, not all, find it impossible for a black individual to think outside of the box that they have created for us when it comes to politics. We're talking about that Democratic liberal box. Allow her to continue to expose her hypocrisy and, in a subtle way, her racist thought pattern. Because of the color of an individual's skin, they have to be a particular way, especially when it comes to politics. How insulting, how demeaning. Allow them to continue.
Oh,
how's that?
No.
For the only black family that lives in this godforsaken whiteness and they're fucking MAGA. He goes, it's just such a disappointment to me.
No.
Yes.
It's such a disappointment to him. And this flows into that paternalistic mindset that many white liberals have when it comes to black people. They claim to support and claim to be the party of, or the individuals of, tolerance, when in fact they are the individuals who have the least amount of tolerance, unless it is in conformity with what it is that they want it to be. Now, let's allow them to continue.
And they had 2, they're a corner house, and they had, and I was just like, because I remember when they moved in, Roman, my son that told me, the prom send-offs, the culture, he was like, love this. We need to have more color in this neighborhood. And I go, I agree.
We need to have more color in this neighborhood. Why? For them to be conformed into a thought process that to your liking, or to invite them in as individuals and respect their individual intellectual capacity to choose to live their life the way they want to live it, to vote in a way that they want to vote, regardless of the color of their pigment. Very insulting, extremely demeaning, and they have this individual, obviously quite feminine in my observation, quite dramatic and emotional in his response, going right along with it. This is disgraceful. Allow them to continue.
That family popped up MAGA signs.
Black Republicans is something I will never understand.
I agree.
Typical liberal black male. Black Republicans are something that he would never understand. And no, I am not a Republican, and I would never be a Republican. I would never be a Democrat. I'm an independent thinker, and I'm not an independent. I think and I flow with whatever I see as being the right path or the correct way to operate, no matter who's bringing forth a certain fact or truth or what's best in general for the nation at large and or the community at large. That's what I roll with, no matter who's bringing that factual information, and no matter whose policy, no matter who is bringing the policy that I align with. It doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, black, white, Hispanic. It doesn't matter. For me, what matters is that I see factual evidence within what it is that an individual is doing, and I align with it. These individuals who think that they're doing black people a favor by promoting an ideology of liberalism and acting as if they're inclusive have really done more damage to the Black community than good. The Black community in 1960 had a marriage rate amongst his family of 80-some-odd%. And as soon as Lyndon B. Johnson did the trickery that he done with the welfare and all those things that he pushed forth in order to place within the mindset of Blacks that the Democrats had their best interests at heart, and he said that he would have those N-words voting Democrat for over 200 years, irregardless, and this is my word, irregardless of the results that they have achieved from voting Democrat for the past 60 years. In 2025, the neighborhoods, the behavior, the degenerate living conditions, the degenerate attitudes amongst the Blacks in inner cities and beyond, to be honest with you, most of them, 90% of them, liberal, has done more damage than good. Look at the condition of the Black community today and look at the degenerate behavior, the ratchetness that is exploding at the seams within a large percentage of that inner city culture. And it's being glorified. And the Democratic liberals never point out that behavior that is not conducive to growth, that isn't conducive to anything beneficial, but it is detrimental to the Black community as it has shown itself to be. They never call it out. They call out what they perceive to be systematic racism or injustice or any oppression that they feel is coming. And they put the blame totally on the system while not holding the individuals with that degenerate behavior that leads to worse behaviors, worse outcomes, the destruction of the community. They say nothing. And this is my problem with many white liberals, but the Black liberals are even more dangerous and detrimental to the Black community's progress. Make no mistake about it. And this is why I got these individuals behind me, the Roland Martins, the Al Sharptons, the AOCs, the Jasmine Crockett's, and these individuals. This is what we're dealing with. And this is why the Black community has suffered severely, in part because of the ideology of liberalism that they have embraced. Now, let's go and pull out some more information and some more videos that show you how ridiculous some of these liberals, in my opinion, are. We're going to pull out AOC. We're going to let Joe Rogan.
Did you hear what AOC said? She
Say a
said
few
the people
things.
that they're coming in to this country, most of them, it's because of climate change.
Often people want to say, why aren't you talking about the border crisis? Or why aren't you talking about it in this way? Because it's not a border crisis. It's an imperialism crisis. It's a climate crisis. It's a trade crisis.
It's not a border crisis. What planet is AOC living on? Allow her to continue with her rhetoric.
It's amazing.
As I have already said, even during this term and this president, our immigration system is based and designed on our carceral system.
It is straight out of
Oh
South
my
Park.
gosh.
It's straight out of South Park. Like what?
Yeah, I know.
The U.S. has disproportionately contributed to the total amount of emissions that is causing a planetary climate crisis right now.
Oh,
I'm
that's
like
the only
waiting, like,
reason?
oh,
Oh, that's the
is there
reason.
more?
Has the climate changed more than I know? Do you know something I don't know?
But who is bearing the brunt of that? It's actually not us. We help create the problem, but disproportionately, it's the global south that are going to be experiencing the floods, wildfires, and droughts.
Like, what are you saying? What's going on down there? Did you hear?
She speaks about climate change and its detrimental effect on the human, on the planetary experience for all humans, but specifically tying it to the reason why individuals are crossing the border or attempting to cross the border illegally. She has conflated the obvious and she starts to talk about things that makes no sense. And when you look at her district and you look at the individuals within her district, they are complaining about the lack of progress that she has made when it comes to cleaning up her district. And this is the normal situation across many of these left-leaning representatives of communities. And their districts are impoverished and violent and crime-ridden, while they themselves have become wealthy. Not so much AOC when it comes to extreme wealth, but allow us to look at Jasmine Crockett. She makes, I think, $174,000 a year, but she's worth over $10 million. And it doesn't seem to appear that she had that amount of net worth before she came into politics. So how and what is she doing to achieve such an exponential growth in her wealth? We must ask these types of questions. Now let's go back to another video, and this video will show a former DOD official actually interrupting a Black individual who's having a conversation about being, or maybe I'm not able to find this. Allow me to shift gears. We're going to actually go into this other video that's not pulling up, but the crux of that video was there's a DOD official who has been caught on tape, former DOD official. I'm thinking Department of, I don't know what the last D is, but again, she worked for the government. But she goes off, she's a liberal, she goes off and interrupts a Black woman and another woman who's having a conversation, obviously about politics. And the Black woman is saying that she's a Republican and she's having, or she voted for Trump, and she's having a quiet, private conversation with her guest. And this lady goes ballistic. This is the common pattern of liberals. They claim to be the party of inclusiveness, tolerance. They claim to be the party that has high moral values. But time and time again, they're showing how violent and disruptive and emotional they are when it comes to a difference of opinion and or a difference of ideology when it's not aligned with what it is that they say you should believe. How hypocritical. Now, allow us to jump into this video, and we're dealing with Dr. George Frazier, and he's going to talk about the metastasized cancer that is the ratchet ghetto culture that is undermining Black culture and how it cannot be sustained. We'll check him out.
There is a cancer in our culture, and it has metastasized.
He goes on to speak heavily about the importance of the family unit. And this is definitely opposed to the liberal ideology that has intentionally sought to destroy the family unit. But he ties the family unit, the mother and the father, and their economic capability to their economic capability versus a single parent home and versus other ethnic groups. And he does the comparison and shows that those ethnic groups whose marriage rates are high, their income, annual income is high. And those, i.e. Blacks, whose marriage rate is low and in the tanks, their economic output annually as a family is low. So he speaks about the East Indians making over $120,000 per year annually, and their marriage rates are 95%. He speaks about the Chinese, Asians, and their marriage rate is in the 80s, and their economic annual output of those family units is $100,000. When he speaks about whites whose marriage rates have dipped significantly since the 1960s, which was once at 90%, I believe, now it's at 57%. And they were once the ones who held the highest per capita income of the ethnic groups in America. They are now number 3 at 80-something thousand per year. Then we go a little lower, the Hispanics, whose marriage rates, I believe, is in the 60s, 60%. And their annual income is, for the collective, is 60,000. And then we come to the blacks, still holding up the bottom of every social metric in America, and the finances are not excluded from that. The marriage rate in the 1960s, he said, of black families was in the mid to upper 80s, maybe 85%. And this was under the oppression of Jim Crowism and all the discriminatory factors that still was heavy in America at the time. The family unit was intact. Pull down to 2025. The marriage rate for blacks is a dismal 23%. And we're at the bottom of the collected economic annual income, as should be expected with a marriage rate that low. We're making 50-something thousand a year, at the bottom of every social metric when it comes and is compared to other ethnic and racial groups in America. We have a cancer within the society, and liberalism, especially for blacks, and the black liberals are driving a destructive ideology that has proven to stagnate and actually worsen the condition of black people, while always claiming to be victims of white supremacy, of systematic injustice. If these things do exist, and they do in a small scale amongst individuals, but not to a large extent where it can hinder any individual who puts in the work, puts in the sacrifice in order to make something of themselves, none of that can hinder you in 2025. But yet, the race hustlers on the left continues to push this victim mentality, continues to ignore the degenerate behavior that is flowing forth from the inner city neighborhoods, and the condition continues to get worse, while they themselves, the race hustlers, the politicians, continue to gain income. Their income continues to exponentially increase, while the district has not gotten any better in 60 some odd years. This is ridiculous. It's time to wake up. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, hit that like button, and any questions that you have, please leave something in the comments. Have a beautiful day. Peace and blessings. Peace.